The rain fell in silver sheets over the city as Daniel Whitmore leaned against the tinted window of his luxury SUV, watching raindrops chase each other down the glass. Billionaire. Real estate mogul. Forbes listed philanthropist. He had all the labels, the accolades, the money. Yet lately, even with his vast empire and a mansion that could house a small village, Daniel had begun to feel an emptiness, like a hollow echo in his chest that even his success couldn't fill. He was on his way back from a business meeting when his driver asked if he wanted to stop for a quick bite. "There's a diner just around the corner, sir," said Tom, the only employee Daniel allowed to speak to him like a friend. "It's nothing fancy, but it's warm and dry." Daniel glanced at the clock. His next meeting was an hour away. "Sure," he muttered, not because he was hungry, but because he was tired. Not of the day, but of his life. The diner was a small, almost forgotten place tucked between a laundromat and a hardware store. Its neon sign flickered like a heartbeat in the rain. Inside, the smell of bacon and coffee filled the air, and the soft buzz of an old jukebox played tunes from a simpler time. Daniel slid into a corner booth, unrecognizable in his dark hoodie and worn jeans. He preferred it that way, no one asking for favors, no one pretending to laugh at his jokes because of his money. Then he saw her. A young waitress with tired eyes and a radiant smile. She carried a tray of pancakes to a nearby table where a boy, no more than 6 or 7, sat in a wheelchair. The boy's body was thin, his hands curled slightly, and his head tilted in a way that suggested he had little control over his muscles. But his eyes, they sparkled with joy. The waitress, his mother, Daniel assumed, set the plate down and said, "Ready for our morning dance, big guy?" The boy laughed, a sound so pure and full of light it seemed to part the rain outside. She turned to the jukebox, pressed a few buttons, and music began to play. A slow, sweet melody. Without a hint of self-consciousness, she began to dance. Not for tips, not for praise, just for him. She twirled and swayed, grabbing the boy's hands and moving them with hers. His face lit up like Christmas morning. Daniel felt something crack open inside him. Something he hadn't felt in years. As the dance ended, the mother leaned down, kissed her son's forehead, and whispered, "See? There's still magic in the world." Daniel looked away quickly, blinking hard. He didn't cry. Not him. Not Daniel Whitmore. Later, when she came to take his order, he noticed how her smile flickered when she thought no one was watching. "Just coffee," he said, then added, "Your son, he's lucky to have you." She paused, unsure if he meant it kindly. "He's my whole world," she said quietly. They spoke in fragments. Her name was Rachel. Her son, Noah, was born with cerebral palsy. She worked double shifts, sometimes triple, just to cover his therapy and medications. No child support. No help. Just hope, and coffee. Daniel left a generous tip. But as he stepped outside, the hollowness returned. His penthouse, his yachts, his boardrooms, none of it could compare to the love he saw between a mother and her child in a greasy spoon diner. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the boys' laughter, seeing that dance. The next morning, he returned. And the next. Over time, Rachel opened up more. About the nights she cried in silence, the guilt of never doing enough, the joy of Noah's small victories, gripping a spoon, saying "Mama" again after weeks of silence. Noah grew attached to Daniel, who started joining them at the table, telling silly jokes and showing magic tricks that made the boy laugh till he wheezed. One day, Daniel brought a little toy robot. Noah's eyes lit up. Rachel tried to refuse it. "It's too much," she said. Daniel smiled. "Too much is kind of my thing." It wasn't charity. He wasn't doing this to feel better about himself. It was different. Real. Then came the day that changed everything. Noah had a seizure in the middle of the diner. Rachel screamed, people froze, and Daniel, who had never felt more helpless in his life, held the boy's hand as paramedics rushed in. Hours later, in the hospital waiting room, Rachel cried into Daniel's shoulder. They say he needs more advanced care, special equipment, therapies I can't afford. I can't lose him. I just can't. Daniel didn't respond right away. But inside, a decision was made. He called his attorneys that night. Reallocated funds. Set up a trust. Called every medical contact he had across the country. A week later, Rachel was summoned to a pediatric rehab center that looked more like a luxury spa than a hospital. Private rooms. The latest equipment. Specialists flown in from Europe. This is for Noah, Daniel said. Rachel stared in disbelief. But this must cost millions. He nodded. It does. Why would you do this? Daniel knelt down in front of Noah's wheelchair. Because your son reminded me what joy looks like. And you reminded me what love really means. Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she whispered. You saved him. No, Daniel said, his voice breaking. He saved me. Months passed. Noah thrived. The therapy worked wonders. He began speaking more, moving more. One day, he took 3 steps with a walker. Rachel sobbed. Daniel did too. The media caught wind of it. Headlines read, Billionaire sponsors disabled child's miracle recovery. But Daniel refused interviews. It's not a story, he said. It's family. Then, one quiet spring morning, something extraordinary happened. The rehab center hosted a fundraising gala. Lights. Music. Celebrities. But amidst all the glamour, Noah sat by the dance floor in his wheelchair, watching. Until Rachel stood and reached out her hand. Dance with me? He nodded. And then, slowly, carefully, Noah stood. 1 step. 2. Holding on to his mother's arms. The music swelled, and the crowd went silent. Daniel watched, tears spilling freely, as mother and son danced, this time, not in a diner, but beneath chandeliers and stars. Rachel saw Daniel watching, and mouthed, There's still magic. That night, Daniel updated his will, not to leave his fortune to distant cousins or board members, but to create a foundation in Noah's name. One that would provide care, therapy, and hope to thousands of children across the country. He had built skyscrapers, shaped skylines, changed markets, but this was his true legacy. As for Rachel and Daniel, they remained friends. Maybe more. But what mattered wasn't the label. It was the love, the laughter, the way they each had found healing in each other's brokenness. Years later, at the grand opening of the Noah Whitmore Center for Children with Disabilities, a grown Noah, now a teen who walked with just a cane, took the microphone. My mom danced with me when no one else would, he said. Mr. Daniel believed in me when he didn't have to. And now, I want every kid to know, they matter. They're not forgotten. They're loved. The audience rose in a standing ovation, many with tears in their eyes. And Daniel, standing beside Rachel, whispered, You were right. There is magic in the world. Because sometimes, the smallest gestures, a dance in a diner, a laugh in the rain, can lead to the biggest miracles.